For my Learn Something New project, I decided to focus on something I've always wanted to learn but have never made the time for. Taking the advice of my professor, I chose cooking, an activity that allowed me to spend time with my family and increase my ability to help around the house. Though I love her dearly and certainly never knew the difference growing up, my mom wasn't a very passionate cook. There was one exception though, Italian food, which is to be expected coming from an Italian family. In our house, Dad never cooked, so cooking was never something I even really thought to do. When I got married and started a family, neither my ex and I were great cooks, and we would often joke that there were 3 categories of dinner at our house: from the freezer, from a box, and takeout. As a single dad, I was constantly scrambling to feed the kids and myself, but never really had the time to cook, so we ended up almost always picking up fast food on the way home, with an occasional pasta from a box or pizza delivered to the front door. All that changed when I met Marin. In addition to all her other nice qualities, Marin grew up cooking meals for her whole family. Prior to eating Marin's cooking, I honestly didn't realize that food that good could come from a regular kitchen. Though there are many different ways to approach learning something new, I was immediately drawn to the idea of reading tons of recipes and step-by-step descriptions about how to prepare food so that I could demonstrate my knowledge through tricky multiple-choice questions. Not. Who thinks that's a good idea anymore, anyway? Knowing my propensity for learning through doing, and sometimes blinding overconfidence, lack of time, and nearly complete aversion to reading anything that isn't required, I decided to ask my local expert for a custom curriculum that would allow me to be active and social while demonstrating my knowledge through the creation of authentic culinary artifacts. Over several weeks, we chose various meals to prepare together. Featured here are tacos, lasagna roll-ups, and bacon, eggs, and cinnamon rolls for breakfast. Throughout the process, I learned a lot, but not always the things I was expecting. For instance, did you know you could buy veggies at the self-checkout? Turns out, all you have to do is enter the item number, and the computer does the rest. I had no idea. This is the sort of thing you don't learn from a cookbook. Although I could have searched the web and found an abundance of information about cooking, including videos and virtual communities of practice, I was fortunate enough to enter into more of an individualized master and apprentice relationship, the foundation of which had been laid previously with the occasional vegetable prep, the ever-present washing of dishes, and cleaning up of the kitchen. Upon deeper analysis of my hesitance in joining a virtual COP, it could be said that my identity had not yet been transformed into a cook to the point of feeling comfortable entering a formal community of practice. Yet. Thinking about cooking from a cognitive perspective, there's certainly an abundance of process knowledge and quantitative measurements that would seem to lend to choosing a purely cognitive approach. Though I could have attempted to learn on my own through reading and discovering new discrete pieces of knowledge, I knew from my experience that nothing beats having your own expert. Still, thinking through the cognitive lens, I definitely sought to reduce my cognitive load by asking Marin to guide the cooking sessions. What made it nice is that we dynamically adjusted my level of independence and involvement based upon our co-constructed assessment of my current proficiency. I took over when I felt competent and confident in a given task, and asked for help when either of us felt there was something I would likely need to be aware of. This allowed me to really appreciate the amount of tacit knowledge that's involved in being an expert cook. Looking at my experience through the lens of situative theory, which takes into account the social interactions and material world that the learning is situated within, it was the immediate and impactful relevance of the learning focus that made the process enjoyable and meaningful for me. From a sociocultural, Vygotskian perspective, Marin was my more knowledgeable other within my zone of proximal development, and our interactions could easily be described in terms of cognitive apprenticeship as well, given that our interactions largely consisted of modeling and coaching. However we choose to look at the learning experience with regard to theoretical considerations, learning to cook was something I enjoyed tremendously and plan to continue to do into the future.